Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our GP to BC webinar series. This is the third one, BC Out of the Box Financial Reporting. Presenting today, we have Roger Thayer, so a huge thank you to him. I will hand things over to you, Roger.
Thank you very much, Allie. You may have joined us for the other seminars, hopefully, other webinars we had. This one is going to talk about reporting, and we're breaking reporting out a little bit here into a couple different sessions. In part, we're going to talk about what's available out of the box, operating reports versus management reporter style reports versus SQL Service reports or Excel and all. So we're spreading this over a few meetings because we have a lot of things that we can show you and all. So right now, as we sit here, we're looking at Cronus USA, which is the test company, the Fabricam, if you will, on the BC side of things. And you say, okay, great, Roger. How do I get reports out of this? Well, we have Excel reports, but most importantly, we have before Excel reports is getting data out of the system to be an Excel report. And you could go in here and remember with BC, it's very easy to use the lookup and find things. And you can type reports and it will tell you about the different ones that we have here. And you say, okay, I'd like to see a balance sheet. That's something I would get and see in Management Reporter typically. And you'll get a static balance sheet or static income statement that pops open in Excel. But the real exciting tool that BC has that GP does not have, GP's got similar things when you go to the inquiry window and you look things up. But here we can go to account schedules and have predefined reports here, much like you would in Management Reporter, that you can see. The ones with M's and I's on them are standard ones that come in the system. And then I created a couple copies here. So I could go and I could select the income statement and hit process and overview. And this will actually show me a whole bunch of information here. You say, great, whole bunch of information, like what? This is showing for a quarter, and here's the date range. Here's the information that comprises that income statement here. So it's easy to see this, easy to make a change in this, because I could say, show it for the year to date, and by simply changing to the year drop down, it picked up and gave me the whole year here, and you see the numbers change down here for this. So right there, I'm able to see on screen some of these things. And you say, well, this is a little tight looking. Yes, it is. I can, of course, make the screen larger. I can go to this stuff here. I can still see that I've got an income statement. It tells me that, you know, my income from product sales, 177,000 and such. It'll show me an income here. It'll show cost of goods sold. And you'll notice that when I hover over these, and we're peeling the onion here a little bit to look at this, I can click and it will drill down into this and it'll show me the accounts that make up that number here. I can drill further and it will show me all the transactions that make up that number. And if I need to, I could drill into a transaction, but this will show me all the transactions that make that up. So what I have here is I have a dynamic report that happens to be an income statement report. And I can see the net change for it, or if it's a balance sheet, I can see the balance, you know, year to date or whatever I specify. I can change the date parameters on it. So I'm much like doing this in Management Reporter, but it ran a bit faster. And I was able to stay in my home application and I could drill into it and look at things as well. I'm going to go back here for a moment and just show you how we've got a balance sheet, a cash flow, income statement, retained earnings. This time I'm going to go to the balance sheet here, and I can just select this one, and I'll go to process, overview, and this will show me my balance sheet information here. I can drill back and see what I have for capital stock here. And it just shows that I had an opening entry for it. Very easy to get at this. You can go into the cash flow. Sorry, let me show that again and explain what I was going to do here. If you notice, I've been clicking on the left side here just to highlight one of these, and then going in and having it do some function for me, like give me an overview where it shows dollar amounts. Well, I also have the ability to edit some account schedules and columns and such like this. I can also go in and hit print send, and it will give me the opportunity to say, this is, I was on cash flow over here. This is what I've got. Are you happy with that? It's going to use whatever printer my browser has set up for it. That's a little bit different from GP, where you could pick one. You can pick different ones here, but you can use the default handled by browser and still have something that shows up. Here's the account schedule name. Here's the column layout I would like to use with it. And here's my date range. You can put different filters on as well, but this will give me what I want. Now, I used overview from the other window in order to see things, to see how it would appear. If I said, what am I going to get for a printout or something? Well, this would be how it would look for a printout. And I don't actually have any data in for this period in here, but this gave me a cash flow statement right here. I can also come in and say that I want to print this. And this will show me what I would be able to print out. And this indicates what my default printer is that I've got set up to use. And I could change this and say I want to save it as a PDF or so. So in other words, I'm able to produce a management reporter like paper statement for one of these that could be sent out. Because while the big goal of BC is to have the users stay in the system, we do know that you have to produce an income statement, balance sheet, perhaps a cash flow to give your banker, lenders, or such like that. So this lets us have a little bit of the best of both worlds here, in that we can look at the information on the screens and drill into it in our native application, as opposed to being in Management Reporter and having to have it drill back to GP. But yet I can generate out of the box a paper statement that will show something. Now, I went in and I've got, and that was by clicking on the left side here. I could select what I wanted. If I click the hyperlink, this actually takes me in, and this is the setup that I have for an income statement. And the RT just indicates a version I've got. It has rows, much like you would have in Management Reporter row format. You have descriptions. You can tailor the descriptions. You can also boldface or italicize or underline something if you'd like. You could put page breaks in here, like at the cost of goods sold. I said, I'd like a page break there. You can pick up posting accounts. You can put formulas in. This will show the accounts, and this is like one account per line or a range of accounts. And that's what this is showing us here. It'll say 40,000 ... 40001. So that's 40,000 to 40,001, or 40,500 to 40,990. So it's much the same as you would see with Management Reporter. Now, we're just in this single account schedule sheet here, which again correlates a little bit to a Management Reporter row format. But in Management Reporter, we would have to then open the column to say, what do we want to see? And is it going to show us a balance or a change amount? Those are things that we pick out of Management Reporter. Well, here we have the ability that we can go with the net change. We can pick a balance at a date or a beginning balance. Well, for income and cash flow statements, we typically are going to have certain ones are showing the net change, the activity that occurred, versus a balance, like a balance sheet. It's going to say, hey, I don't care about the change. What's that final ending balance at such and such a date? You can pick if you want this to be a net amount, debit or credit amount. So you might break out vertically some of your activity if needed. You can change the signs on it. So just as in Management Reporter, we know that if we don't do anything to the sign, revenue comes in as a negative number because it's a credit balance type thing set up in the SQL database for GP. And we're able to make the sign be agnostic. We're able to flip that sign. Well, we can do the same thing here where it says, show the opposite sign. And we can even pick here to say, do we want to show this? Yes, no. No would be like use in calculations, but don't show on the printout that we would have in Management Reporter. That's the piece we have there. We could say, show it if any value in that column is not a 0. Otherwise, you could suppress this. Or you could say, show it only when it's a positive balance or only when it's a negative balance. And so I actually took this one. This one originally said, if any column not 0, and it was hiding some things. I just changed it to say yes, so we could see some of the availability, the changes that we have here. So this is kind of taking row formats and column formats and putting a lot of that in one place. You say, well, that's all well and good, because if I go back and I look at the income statement, I can see that it's giving me one column. Well, that's all great, but that's kind of like a trial balance in GP, where I might get, beginning balance, ending balance, debits, credits, and then the net change. Well, this is just showing me one thing. Well, on this account schedule here called RT income statement, it does let me pick a column layout for it. This shows the column layouts that are available. And the ones that it has set up, like a balance or a net change, those are the defaults. I actually made up 2 additional ones here. And just, I don't want to get too technical at the moment, but I just want to show you a little bit about this. If I go in here and select the quarter change, this just automatically redraws the income statement and breaks it out by quarter. Now I have some bad data here, so you're not really seeing the best, that the way it works here. It's actually showing a year-to-date number. But again, I can see this. I could change this and go and I can get a little different look to it now. I'm looking at the prior year in 2020. Here's my product sales income for first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, all coming from this column layout. It was that easy to get to. I went into my income statement here, and I can pick column layouts that I wish to use with this. I can insert GL accounts, cash flow accounts, cost types. That's all the stuff here. You get the same kind of functionality in BC that you had with Management Reporter, where you can pull things in from a chart of accounts, but it also lets me go into edit the columns. And so fourth quarter, I simply have 4 columns I created in there and just gave it a column number. I could have used 1, 2, 3, 4, but I just used something to tell me a little bit more what it is. And here's the column header that's in there for it. And here's the comparison date formula. So for the current quarter right here, I don't have to do anything. It's going to pick up the quarter that is used, that is specified in the date parameter that I select. But the system will then say, well, if I say -1Q, it's going to look and say, okay, if your quarter is October 1st through December 31st, we're going to go to the prior quarter for that. And the system does a little calculation on the fly and figures out that it's going to be looking at July 1st through September 30th. And the same thing here. So it's very easy to come in, and there's a way to use the text strings of this to make date parameters that you'll use in a report. And yes, it's different than what Management Reporter uses, but it is not that hard to deal with. And in fact, right here, this is just part of a junky page that shows it, but it shows here that we can see D, W, D, W, M, Q, Y. It just shows D is for day, weekday, Q for quarter, M for month. Those are some of the parameters that we're able to use when we build formulas in here. And so I have different column layout formulas available here. I also made one that I just said, show me the current year to date and the prior year to date. And for that one, I simply used a -1y, which says, okay, whatever date, whatever range is being used, specified in the report for the year, go back 1 year prior. And if I needed to make another column here, I could have gone, or whatever the heck I would like to put in here. And the nice thing about this is when you tab off of a field, it automatically saves it for you. So I could go back here, and if I want to generate the income statement, I can simply do an overview right here. And it didn't save. I didn't get worked through yet to see all the change for it. There we go. So now I've got my current year to date, my prior year to date, and the prior year to date, which has no data for it. But you can see how we can build upon these and do the same process of adding columns, adding rows that you would have in Management Reporter. It gets us through this. I guess I should show you that while I was in the overview here, while the account was already opened up, I could pick a different account schedule right from this window if I wanted and go to income statement. And it is using net change. Here's my income statement for the date range. But you can see how I could change the base report right from here. And then I could go and I can pick whatever I want out of here. And then based upon this, it'll give me information. I can come back here, and that's because I selected the hyperlink. If I just go click to the left to have it highlighted, I can come in here and I can see information. So in this case, it shows me, all right, go away there, thank you. This will show me what I've got that comprises this right here. And I can always move right over and point to it. And I can just start pointing in to drill at these things. And so this gives me my dynamic look of things I've got right here. And yet I know that I can then go and print this out. Actually, don't have to print it with paper. And there we go. I've got cash at the beginning of the period, cash at the end, but I just had no transactions in there for it. But it's account schedules can be that basic and that simple to get. While I'm on this account schedule here with data, if I say, I would like to do something more with this, I can go and I can open in Excel. I could edit it. I'm just going to go ahead and click open in Excel. And you will see, perhaps not what you're expecting. This shows me the basic setup that was created for this, and it has some information way out here. It has a whole bunch of other things that are showing, but this is why, of course, we would want to hide a bunch of things and get rid of some. But I could dump it out and I can see that I've got a live worksheet here that's got information in it. So it's very simple to be able to move information between a dynamic screen to a paper type looking printout, or to an Excel file, or just be able to drill right down in this. So it kind of rolls together GP's account inquiry in summary or detail, and the trial balance that you can run to a screen and look at. There's a variety of ways, and we're able to get all this in BC here using the account schedules. And that's what's out of the box. We can also go back, and actually I should point out that instead of having to type account schedules each time, I went in here and said, you know, I would like to bookmark this. And it says it's currently bookmarked in there. And this was hollowed out before, not blackened in. And when I clicked on it, it actually put this right up here on the top. So I don't even have to type account schedules each time. I can simply come in here and get to these. And then I can go in and I could print this out if I'd like, year to year. So we'll go and this is showing me my current year to date and my prior year to date cash flow statement. It says, here's my net income that I had. Here's the adjustments. Here's the change in accounts receivable, change in inventory, and so on. And this gives me this and just says cash at the beginning, cash increase. And so I could, if this was satisfactory, I could then go from here if I want, and I can print this on paper. I could print it as PDF. I can go and I could generate this to send off to my outside accountants as needed. And this, by clicking on the printer icon there, it took me out here. And I can either do it as a PDF, I can make it OneNote, etc. There's other ways to be able to get it. I guess I could fax it to somebody if I was set up to fax. But we're able to, again, out of the box, get all this dynamic reporting as well as some, if you will, static reporting to have here. Now, out of the box, we have account schedules and Excel reports. We have some other financial statement reports that are just the same basic thing I got to up here. And those same things can be set up in account schedules. And this is where we really go in and can get at something to work on it. Now, I would like to point out the system has these M's and I's sitting here, and any updates, they will go and they will automatically change those back to whatever Microsoft had set up in the first place. So that's why I wanted to make a copy. So I said, why, yes. New a name, well, RT Inc. statement. Oh, that's right. It stops it so much. So we'll go with V2. There it is. I can edit this as needed. I can use different column format with it because this says here's the default. And as simple as that, it changed down here right away. I can change. Well, actually, because I have year -1y -2y in here, I need to continue to use year right here for this. Otherwise, it would have an issue. But if I went back to net change, I can change this to be whatever I'd like. And this gives me the data for a year ago. You can use department filters. So if we've got things that are marked with some dimensions, much like having a tree there, you could use a filter with it. So let's just go with production, and yeah, not very much good stuff there. Yeah, because the sales is tagged with sales information. You can use budgets. You can have budgets that are referred to in this. And so therefore you could, I don't have any budget set up, but you could pick a budget to use with this. You could then have a column layout that shows actuals and budgets. And you could do, just like in Management Reporter, you could compute the percent or show the amount, whichever. You can use custom filters on this. In this case, there are only 3-dimension values set up, large, medium, and small. But, this dimension value list could be northeast versus northwest. You could have a variety of dimensions and things. And so then you can pick these. So you get the ability, as long as you've got dimensions in there on the data in the first place, you can get the ability to replicate much of what a tree structure would do from Management Reporter and use that filter so that you could just pull all the stuff for Northeast and Southeast and ignore Midwest and Northwest and Southwest, that kind of thing. So these filters allow that to happen. I've beat this pretty well here and demonstrated quite a bit of what we have. All right, so I think we're in pretty good shape here. And again, this was specifically really tailored to show what we have in BC to make up for not having Management Reporter. And as we see, we're able to get pretty much everything we want out of it, but it's even a little bit better because we're able to get it in a much more dynamic and fluid way to get this information than you would with Management Reporter. We still have the date ranges available. We still can do columns and get information. We can add more columns, even if they don't appear on the screen. We can add more columns because when we dump it to Excel, we have it right there with all that. So or we could customize the Excel reports and put the date filters in, make them more static, because we want to pick a particular range or something. We can do all of that kind of stuff that we are used to doing in Management Reporter and do it here. The reports currently set up in Management Reporter are in a completely different database, SQL Server type thing than the SQL format that's available for BC. So the best thing to do for that would be to export the Management Reporter rows, columns, and trees to Excel and have those available to be able to set up in here. So there's no link for it automatically.
Thanks, Roger. Otherwise, it doesn't look like we have any further questions. So thank you, everyone, for joining today.
All right, then. I think we're set, and hopefully this gives you a little something to think about and look forward to.